When's the last time you shared your faith with somebody? Can you remember? What we see here in this section of Acts is really a clear example of something the devil meant for harm, but God uses it to accomplish his will and purpose, both in and through his people. Now, we'd never wish for persecution on anyone, but one thing we can observe when we look through the corridor of church history is that when the intensity of the trial increases, so does their faith. God matches the intensity of that trial with the faith they need to endure whatever the challenge is in front of them. And so really, since we only have 3 verses here, I'm just going to go ahead and read them right now. This is Acts chapter 8, verses 1 through 3. And Saul approved of his execution, and there arose on that day a great persecution against the church in Jerusalem, and they were scattered throughout all regions of Judea and Samaria, except the apostles. Devout men buried Stephen and made great lamentation over him. But Saul was ravaging the church, entering house after house. He dragged off men and women and committed them to prison. So following the stoning of Stephen, which Saul not only approved of, but actually participated in, there began a real great persecution that started to sweep through the Jerusalem church. And interestingly enough, Jesus predicted this very thing would happen and forewarned his disciples long before this event took place. So back in Matthew chapter 10, verses 22 through 23, he said to his disciples, "You'll be hated by all for my name's sake, but the one who endures to the end will be saved." And now don't be discouraged and think this persevering work is something we have to do in and of our own strength. It's actually according to Jesus' promise to never leave us or forsake us. He makes sure believers persevere to the end. So Jesus goes on further to say, "When they persecute you in one town, flee to the next. For truly I say to you, you will not have gone through all the towns of Israel before the Son of Man comes." So we see here in Acts, Jesus' words ringing true that they'll be persecuted and then scattered as a result. But they didn't just run and hide their heads in the sand, no. They fled and they brought the gospel with them to where they fled to. And the result of this is that the gospel started to spread all around Jerusalem into the towns that they were scattered into. So even though they just lost their dear brother Stephen and to a brutal stoning, they'd begun to face great persecution themselves. God matched the intensity of that trial with what they needed to accomplish his purpose. Do you believe he'll do that same thing for you? So we have here a sign really that I think a lot of churches have when we're leaving the campus. It says, "You're now entering your mission field." And if you might not be experiencing persecution right now, but one thing that unites us all together, at least in the United States, is the fact that we gather here on Sunday and we all scatter to different regions throughout the county or state or whatever have you. So the question is are we bringing the gospel with us when we leave here on Sunday, or are we just keeping it to ourselves? Our homes, our jobs, our neighborhoods, the golf course, even the places we go on vacation, all have one thing in common. They are our mission field. So as you go, let's be reminded you're an ambassador of Christ first and foremost. There's no vacation from proclaiming the gospel. Rest assured, as you go, our God is faithful to what you need, and give you what you need to step out in faith and be obedient to him. So you're now entering your mission field. Who will you share the gospel of Jesus Christ with today?